The movie says that in the distant future, this world is going to be just a giant desert wasteland. But I'm pretty sure that California is going to be that desert wasteland next year. This is Mad Max Fury Road, the fourth Mad Max film in a series that I've actually never seen any of the movies of until this one. This one is made 30 years after Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and has Tom Hardy in the role of Max. The movie opens up with his character being kidnapped by a group known as the War Boys, led by the villainous King Immortal Joe, whose wardrobe is even more ridiculous than anything in a Marvel comic movie, but given that everyone's just fucking out of their mind nuts, that makes total sense why he'd dress up like that. Meanwhile, a supposed member of the War Boys, Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, kidnaps Joe's wives in an attempt to take them off to where Furiosa was born so they can live a better life without rule and without a fucking desert wasteland, although how you come across something like that, I don't know. Max gets tangled up with the group and joins them on this journey as they try to find a more decent place to live and escape the War Boys. Now, as I mentioned before, I've never seen a single Mad Max movie. So I'm coming to this as a newcomer, hoping that the movie could stand on its own without having to really see any of the other movies. Because I really don't know what this is. Is it a remake? Is it a sequel? Because it's done by the same director, George Miller. So people have told me that it's a continuation of the fourth movie, so I assume that means it's a sequel, but as someone who has never seen any of these movies before, I don't feel like I missed anything. And I was really impressed. For this being my first Mad Max movie, I'm greatly impressed by it. In terms of action and spectacle, this movie is a masterpiece. The action scenes are pretty much long car chases, like really long car chases that go on for probably 30, 45 minutes, but they're always on the edge of your seat. They're doing creative things. You see actual cars getting blown up. There are a few moments where there's green screen and CGI to help out, but the majority of it is real and in front of the camera, because that's the best kind of action. I mean, as much as I love movies like Avengers, where a lot of the action is through CG, the best action is when it's physically there. And also, this is one of the most visually stunning movies I've seen. The way the action is filmed, and the overall cinematography of the landscape is gorgeous. It's incredible. And there are a lot of cool visual, I don't know if gag is the right word, but there are a lot of cool things throughout this movie, like the design of the cars, a lot of the weapons. My favorite is there's this one guy who's chained on top of a car that has a giant speaker set up, and he's just rocking out on his guitar that also happens to be a flamethrower, and it's just like so bizarre. You got this guy rocking out during a chase sequence, and the tip of his guitar acts as a flamethrower, and he's like wasting all this fuel. And it's like, if that character alone doesn't tell you what the movie is, then you stepped into the wrong movie, obviously. You gotta take it what it is, that this is an absolutely balls to the wall, batshit insane action movie. Now, what about the characters? We gotta have some of that there. Well, most of the actors do a really fantastic job in a very over-the-top and mad way. Nicholas Hoult, who's best known for being Beast in X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past, is playing one of the War Boys, and he's really funny. He's out of his mind, and he's just really good. Nicholas Hoult is a really good actor, I think, and this movie's no exception. Hugh Keys Byrne, I think that's how you pronounce his name, is the villain of the movie. And he's the same actor who played a different villain in the first Mad Max movie. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. And he fulfills his roles. He's like the big, intimidating, goofy-looking villain with a sinister voice. I mean, he does his job fairly well. Nothing too memorable about him outside of the way he looks. But the big star of the movie and the most important character of all is Charlize Theron as Furiosa. This is her movie. She's a really strong female character, tough, independent, and when the situation calls for it, ruthless. She might be caring for those around her, Joe's wives and Max, but when the situation calls for her to be ruthless, she's not afraid to be ruthless and make the tough decisions. So it sounds like I've just been praising this movie nonstop. I mean, it is a masterpiece in terms of action, but unfortunately it's not perfect, and it is nowhere near deserving of that 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I have legitimate reasons why I don't think it's absolutely amazing outside of the action scenes. And one of those criticisms comes with the character of Max. I mean, Tom Hardy has proved himself to be a really capable actor in films like Inception, Warrior, but his role as Max here is a bit underwhelming. I've never seen the original movie, so I can't compare him to Mel Gibson, which I guess is probably a good thing. But the reason he's very underwhelming is because he's actually a supporting character in this movie. For a movie being called Mad Max, I really expected him to be the main character. But instead, it's Charlize Theron's Furiosa. Now, let me make something clear before you type in your keyboard saying how stupid I am. I am not one of those male rights activists who wants to boycott the movie just because Max is not the lead character and Charlize Theron's Furiosa is. Because I really like the fact how strong this character is. But for being called Mad Max, I really thought he was going to be the main character, and he was the main character in the other 3 movies, supposedly. So for someone who hasn't seen any of these other movies, coming in cold to this one, I really wanted to know more about Max, and this movie didn't really allow me to do that. He doesn't even have any badass moments. There was one opportunity that the movie had to show how badass Max is, and it's just nothing off-camera. And it's something you don't even see. Like, he goes off in the distance to kill a group of people, comes back, one of the wives suspects that he got hurt, and Furiosa says that's not his blood. And it's like, okay, that's cool that he killed a bunch of those guys without a scratch, but why can't we see that? So, again, no disrespect to Charlize Theron as Furiosa because she's amazing. But in terms of the main character, if you're going into this movie expecting Max to be the main character, you're going to be disappointed. And the other legitimate criticism I have, or at least I think it's legitimate, comes to the movie's violence, or more accurately, a lack of violence. This movie's rated R, and I was expecting it to be a little more gritty and raw for a post-apocalyptic movie. Like, I wanted to get a sense that this was a complete shithole of a world, and that there are dire consequences. And every time, like, there's a moment where someone's about to get run over by a car, shot, killed, mangled, whatever, the movie is quick to cut away. The movie is quick to cut away, so it doesn't show you anything graphic, with the exception of something that happens at the end. But it kind of makes the movie feel like it's not taking any risks because of that. I mean, if you weren't going to have this level of violence, why'd you even make it rated R? So that's something that I legitimately don't like. I mean, some people might come in and say it's nitpicking, and if you think that's a nitpick, that's fine. But me, I don't think that's a nitpick. I really think if you're going to go the rated R route, go the rated R route. But that doesn't make it a bad movie in the end, because as much shit as I had to say about the lack of character for Max and the lack of violence, this movie is still really great. It's a fantastic action movie. It's well-paced. The action will keep you on the edge of your seat. It's beautiful to look at cinematography-wise. It's great that they're using practical stunts and effects, and we have a female character here that's on par with any of the female characters that James Cameron and Joss Whedon have created throughout their careers. So despite my criticisms, this movie is worth seeing in your lifetime, and you have to see this in the theater. Don't wait till it comes out on Blu-ray, because it'll be cool to see it on Blu-ray, but you're not going to get the same effect that you would get seeing this in the theater. So please, go see it, because you're going to have a great time with it. That's my review for Mad Max Fury Road. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. And this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.